So today we're connecting with Sheena. Sheena is from the United States and has been traveling for quite some time now. After working in Australia, she decided to come over to New Zealand. And little did she know that she was going to spend a lot more time than planned here in New Zealand because of the coronavirus. So without further ado, let's quickly connect with Sheena and see what she has to say. And before you watch the video, make sure you subscribe if you want us to take you on a tour of the world, because as a goal, as a family, we are going to travel to every country in the world. So let's connect to Sheena.
Hi.
Hey, Sheena, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So where are you from?
I'm from the States. I'm from Florida.
From Florida. Okay, what city?
I'm from Tampa.
You're from Tampa. Very cool.
Where are you from? I've actually seen your video. So I followed Drew Binsky and I saw your episode with him when you guys were traveling around Europe.
Oh, you're kidding me. Yeah, we met up with Drew in Madrid. That's so cool.
Yeah, when Jesse sent me that, I was like, growing up with Boyles, I was like, I've heard that somewhere. And then I literally just got on my Facebook and I was like, oh, I'm following them. And then I realized it was from Drew's video that I had seen it.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people found us from Drew, so that was really cool.
Yeah, I like his videos. They're good.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's really good.
Yeah, he's a cool kid.
Oh, so you're from Tampa. So we lived in Orlando, like right near Kissimmee celebration area, right there.
Okay.
On and off for 6 years, but we're originally from Canada, so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then are you guys stuck in Christchurch or in Queenstown? Because I was kind of like watching one of your videos and I know that you came from Cambodia to come to New Zealand. So did you do that on purpose? Like you knew that you weren't going back to the States, or like you knew you were down here in New Zealand?
Yeah, so our home, like where we call home for us right now, is actually Switzerland. And so we had like this whole trip was supposed to end in the Pacific and do some of the islands and New Zealand. And then we were going to make our way back through India, Pakistan, and some of the different countries there. We were going to go there first. So everything kind of switched around when we were in Sri Lanka, actually. We were going to do, we pivoted for two reasons. One was because the visa process to go to India was really lengthy. And so we were questioning like, oh my gosh, we had to fill it basically the last 10 years of travel. And we were like, holy, the specifics. So we were like, let's skip that. And then there was a whole little break starting. So then we were on a race basically to get here, because we thought, okay, if we want to get stuck, but we didn't really think we would get stuck for this long, but we thought, if we were to get, stuck somewhere, where would it be? And we didn't think maybe Cambodia would be a good spot, right? So we literally like raced over with hopping through a few countries, and then through Australia, and Australia did the same thing where they locked down right after we left. And it was just like, we kind of, I feel like, just got in right on time each place. But this whole lockdown escalated way faster than we thought.
So quickly. So I've actually spent the last year in Australia. I was doing my working holiday visa and I just finished, and then like my original plans, literally everything just got and it, like you said, it happened so quickly. So my original plan was to do a 2-week van trip in New Zealand. And then on March 18th, I had tickets to go meet my family in Thailand. Like my mom, dad, and brother were there. Then I feel like, and I was doing the van thing. So like parts of New Zealand can be pretty remote. So I didn't always have service. I was living in a van anyway. So coronavirus wasn't like, yes, I knew it was going on, but I felt I wasn't really like engaging with it. You know what I mean? I wasn't following it the way that I should have. Like I didn't have service, and I didn't really care. At the time, New Zealand had like 2 or 3 cases and none of them were in the South Island. You know what I mean? So yeah. I wasn't worried at all. My parents are in Chiang Rai, Thailand. It's pretty remote. It's not like Bangkok or anything. So I felt pretty safe. But like, I just feel like as soon as March 18th came, like for me, just everything just kept happening so quickly. Like borders started shutting down. And then my brother's like, you really shouldn't be traveling. Like, he's a doctor. And he was just like, you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting others at risk. Like if you do decide to go to Thailand, there's no way you should go see, mom and dad, because they're older, like my stepdad's in his 80s and stuff. So he was like, if you go to Thailand, like there's no way you can go see like our parents, and I was like, okay, so there's no point in me going to Thailand, spending money on an Airbnb just to sit there anyways, you know what I mean? So then it was like at that point that I had made the decision to go home, because I couldn't really stay in New Zealand. Well, I wasn't planning on staying in New Zealand. I wasn't going to go to Thailand, you know, possibly get stuck there. I couldn't see my family anyways. You know, I didn't want to like fork out the money to just sit there in an Airbnb. So yeah, I made the decision to go home. And then that's when all like the borders started shutting down and all of this. Like, and yeah, now I'm here in Christchurch, and I'm here for the foreseeable future for at least the next 30 days, you know, because
so where are you staying right now? Like, where are you physically? In a home? Or
physically, I am in an apartment in Christchurch. So I actually got so lucky with my living situation. So when I first got to Christchurch, before I met up with my friend, I was doing couch surfing, you know, like through the app. Yeah. So I like requested this guy, hey, can I stay at your place or whatever? And then it was for like my first day. And then he was like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. And like he has 2 extra bedrooms actually. I've like turned one of the bedrooms into kind of like my little office right now, which is where like we're having this phone call. And he was just like, yeah, you could stay here. So I stayed here with him literally one night, went and did my van trip. And then when I was back in Christchurch, I was like, hey, like I had to cancel my flight to Thailand. And he was like, you can stay here until your flight to Florida, you know? And I was like, okay, perfect. But I think when he said that on March 18th, he didn't realize, like, you know what I mean? Like a couple of days, like my flight, I had booked my new flight to Florida was March 24th. You know, it was like the next like reasonable, not crazy overpriced flight. So I booked that one. So it would have been only 6 days that I would have been staying here, like 5 or 6 days. And now 5 or 6 days is turning into like possibly like, you know, the next month. Exactly. So I am safe. I do have like space, and we get on like pretty well, you know, like we are into like a lot of the same movies. He eats healthy. So it's been really good, but just really unexpected for both of us, you know?
Sure. For everyone. Yeah, we had the same thing. So we arrived to Queenstown with the intention to stay till April 1st. And the day we were driving was when their prime minister announced that they were going to go in lockdown within 48 hours. So at this point, we didn't know if we were going to even be able to stay where we're staying after April 1st. Did I say March 1st? I meant April 1st. So because they were going to use the house. So we were like, what do we do? And the owner, you know, we talked to him like a day after, and then another day after. He has extra family members staying at his house that couldn't make it back to Wellington. So all this stuff. And then he was like, well, we were actually going to use the house, but they're 4 hours away. And then I'm not sure if you got the message on your phone. It said, wherever you're sleeping tonight is where you're going to stay. You must stay for the next 4 weeks. So from that, I guess.
No, I didn't get that message.
Did you not get the alert? Yeah. So
I'm not sure. I should check. So I have a Vodafone thing, and I don't know what's going on, but like, I don't know if you can see, I have 860 messages. They're all from Vodafone. So I kind of just stopped looking at my messages because like none of my friends are texting me like, you know, like regular texting. Like I'm talking to them on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. So I kind of just started disregarding that. But yeah, maybe that message is in one of those 860.
Possibly one of those messages. Yeah. So we were just, but yeah, I feel very fortunate. I mean, I'm not sure about you feeling like how things are progressing in Florida, but I feel like this is a good place to be during coronavirus. If you're going to
I will have to agree with that. I was pretty like stressed, you know, because I was like, yo, I just want to go home. You know, I just want to be closer to my family. And my dad had plans on traveling from Thailand to Florida, also April 1st. And I just wanted, like, with this whole thing going on, and he was, like, at the time, he was dead set on going, you know, because he's been in Thailand since December. He's been wanting to go home, you know. It's just, like, it's, like, rough for him to be out there for that long. He just wanted to go home. And I was like, okay, if my dad, like, and, like, my mom was going to stay in Thailand because she has business to take care of there. So I was like, if my dad goes home to Florida, you know, like, I want to be there before he gets there, and I want to make sure that I'm okay. So then when he gets there, you know, like I'm able to help out and know that I'm not sick, you know? So like, I was really trying to rush, like, you know, rush time too. But like I canceled my flight to Thailand, booked the flight to Tampa. That flight got canceled because on March 20th, so I was supposed to fly out on the 24th, I believe. Yeah, on March 20th, Australia announced total border closures. Like if you're not a resident or an Aussie citizen, you cannot even transit in Australia. So I had bought my ticket a couple of days prior to that. And so then like my layover was in Melbourne. My first layover was in Melbourne with Air New Zealand. So like I wasn't even able to take that, you know, and that flight got canceled. And because I had booked it with United Airways, I never even got like a cancellation notice. I didn't get anything. When I went to go check in on my flight, it said you needed to call this number. And right then and there, I was like, ooh, something's up with that, you know? So then I went to the Air New Zealand site, and yeah, for sure it was like canceled. So I'm like on hold. I was on hold with Air New Zealand, you know, for so long. And they were like, yeah, your flight's canceled and you can't, 100% you can't transit anywhere in Australia. And I was like, okay, so like, what do I need to do to get rebooked? And they're like, you know, you need to call United because that's who you originally booked with. So I was like, all right. So I call United, and I spoke to a really nice lady, but she let me know that from Christchurch to get back to the States, like my biggest problem I was running into was all of the flights were like having layovers in Australia, whether it be Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. They were all, so like I literally couldn't take one. And she said the first available flight that she could put me on was May 13th.
Oh my God.
This is on March 3rd. I'm like, not really an option. That's like 7-8 weeks from now. Like, and she was like, yeah, I know. I'm really sorry. Like every flight literally like has layover in Australia somewhere. So, like what her suggestion was to go ahead and request the refund for this particular flight and then try to book with another airline. So that's what I did. But booking with another airline, this is kind of like, you know, like New Zealand was shutting down, Australia had already shut down. So flights were insane. Like this flight that I booked to go home was $500, which I actually thought was like quite a steal. At the next few days when I was looking at flights, they were like $8,000-$9,000. And I was like, you know, I don't have that kind of money to just like be blowing on a flight to go home, you know, because like, and then I noticed a lot of them were just like making layovers in Auckland. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy a flight from Christchurch to Auckland and then buy Auckland home separately. So I did end up doing that, but like I guess by the time I had done that, it was too late. It was after New Zealand had went into lockdown. And even though like I have an email from our embassy, because like some of my friends were like, hey, contact the embassy, see what they can do for you. So I just like sent an email saying, you know, like, hey, this is kind of my situation or whatever. And like the email that they sent me right away was, domestic traveling is considered essential to catch your international onward flight. So I was like, all right, cool, sweet, I'm golden, you know what I mean? So then I booked, it was this past Friday. So I booked a flight from Christchurch to Auckland, and then Auckland to Tampa. The layover was in LA, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
LA, and then it was Charlotte, and then Tampa.
Okay.
So then I was like, all right, cool, I'm golden. And then I'm just like browsing Facebook or whatever, and this kid was like, oh, how do I get to Auckland from Wellington? I'm like, oh, you just book a flight with Air New Zealand, it's no big deal. And he was like, I don't think it's that easy. I think they like, you know, you can't just like domestically travel anymore unless it's essential. And I was like, oh, but it's essential if you're going home, because I literally had this email from our embassy, and he said,
so too. Right.
Yeah, no, it ended at midnight on Friday.
Okay.
That does not count anymore.
Oh, yeah. Because I remember them. So my husband's cousin was also stuck here. I don't actually know if she made it back, but she had the same thing where she was just going to fly up and back home, right? And at this point it was allowed, but I think, everything changed right after they went into lockdown, right?
Yeah, so I guess they went into lockdown on Wednesday, and then you had 2 days to do your domestic traveling. And then once Friday happened, you weren't able to do that. But, you know, like I scoured the internet, and I remember like, I read a New Zealand Herald newspaper article, and it said that traveling domestically to catch your international flight home was considered essential. And then I had this email from our embassy. So, you know, like I was under the impression like this was okay. It's a 1-hour flight from Christchurch to Auckland. I should be able to do this. And then after having this conversation with this kid, like literally this random kid on Facebook, you know, I call Air New Zealand, and I'm like, hey, I have this flight on Sunday. It was literally the last flight that I could book. And it's not that I waited so long to like book this flight. It was just like I would go to book the flight, and it would go from $1,000 to $8,000, like as soon as I was finished putting in my information in, you know. And then and then the next day it'd be $3,000, and then the next day would be $8,000. Like, it was just like so inconsistent. So finally, when I got it, like it was around 1,100. I was like, all right, I'm booking it, you know, and I was able to do that, and I booked the flight from like the separate flight with Air New Zealand from Christchurch to Auckland. But then I called them after this just like random Facebook conversation, and the lady was like, no, like, it's not essential anymore after midnight, you know, on Friday. And I was like, I was honestly in tears at this point, because I'm like, this is like this is like my second time that I'm trying to go home, like my third set of flights that have been canceled and stuff. And she was so sweet. She was like, you know, maybe you can call the airport, like call us back, and we'll transfer you to someone at the airport, and maybe they can make an exception for you. So that's exactly what I did. And the person that I spoke to, they said that Air New Zealand was not policing. Like, if you were to take a domestic flight, on the kiosk when you check in, it'll ask you, are you an essential worker? And you have to answer yes, or they will not check you in. But when you answer yes, Air New Zealand is not policing. You know, they're not going to ask you like, hey, are you essential? What's your job? You don't prove anything. But she did say that there are police at the airport, and they have the authority to ask you, are you an essential worker? And then, you know, when you can't prove that you're essential, now you've just lied on a government document, and, you know, you're breaking the law.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally not worth it. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So it was like at my risk to do it. And I seriously considered it. I'm like, you know what? Like, I just need to get to Auckland. Maybe I'll just hide out in the bathroom until my flight, just run onto the plane, you know, but like,
James Bond, you know what I mean? To get on the plane and home.
I was just like, oh, I just want to get home. Like, this has just been so crazy, you know. But then, like, you know, after I thought it through some more, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be breaking the law in another country. And things are so sensitive right now as it is, you know. Like, I've read in the United States, like, court of law is not really like running. So like, they could just throw me into New Zealand jail, and like, you know, I'm just sitting in there until things get back up and running. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to like face heavy fines, because now, you know, lying on government documents and all that.
Sure. And, yeah. No. So yeah,
now
we don't know what the future holds for us here. I mean, we do not know when things, I mean, it's going pretty well, right, with the amount of cases and affected people, but I really wonder how long this will all last. And then not only that, so let's say New Zealand in a whole is okay, well then we still have the challenge of going through Australia, like you said, and going onwards. So it's not
going to the States. That's actually like kind of my biggest concern at this point, because I feel like New Zealand has such a good grasp on the coronavirus situation. You know, they've acted super fast, you know, like I think when the border shut down on Wednesday, there's only, I mean, not only, but you know, like 300-400 cases, and they just shut down the whole country. Whereas like the United States, I just don't feel like they're, you know what I mean? They're not acting quick enough. Like the measures that they're putting in place are not like efficient enough. So like what I worry is like once New Zealand gets the grasp on the situation and we're okay here in New Zealand, now it's like if I do go home, I have to deal with all this all over again, because I think unless the US takes more drastic measures, this is going to just keep on going on and on and on, you know?
Yeah. I don't think the US, I don't think they realize what's going to hit them.
I just don't even know what to think, you know, like all my friends are in the US and I watch like their Instagram stories and everything, and like they're at house parties, they're going out on the boats, like they're doing all this. And in Florida, like they're recommending to social distance, you know, but like there's no lockdowns, there's no anything. Like here in New Zealand, unless you're going to like the hospital or the grocery store, like you literally cannot be out, and there's like police in the streets, you know. I've read like people like police like are like, oh hey, where are you going, like what are you doing, you know? And it's not like that in the
out here. We're in the country. I'm not sure if you're like in downtown Christchurch or where are you, but we can like, it's very easy to social distance and go for a nice nature walk or whatever.
Yeah.
So that we can still do. And there's the whole lakefront. But yeah, I mean, people are abiding for the most part by the rules.
Absolutely. People are so abiding here. And I just don't feel like the United States is. And then Florida is just like, dude, I don't know. Like Florida, they just had spring break. I'm sure you saw some of the interviews. Those kids are just like, oh, coronavirus, like no big deal, you know? And like,
That's what
It's
I
just
mean.
so
But
crazy.
I wonder often if they haven't seen the news in what's happening in Spain and what's happening in France and Italy and now Switzerland, and they're not
Yeah.
seeing it, or they're not feeling, they feel like it's so far away, just like we felt like when, China, oh, it's over in China, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's how I felt in January. It's not going to affect
Right.
us.
Right.
I think that's
Right.
the problem. So,
And I
but
also think,
so
like, our leaders, if our leaders, like, I saw, like, a thing that President Trump, not even a couple weeks ago, like a week ago, said, like, oh, yeah, I'd like to be up and running by, like, Easter. Like, that is so absurd. That's literally a couple weeks. People are, like, dying, and, like, we don't even have the testing capabilities in the United States to test people, so we don't even actually know how bad it is. And he's just like, we're going to be up and running by Easter. Families are going to be praying in church. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm literally going to be living this nightmare for a really long time, And then I know, like, Florida specifically, like, people are flocking down to Florida to kind of ride this out, like, people are visiting their families. People are coming from the north where it's, colder and stuff, coming from New York where they're, like, hit so hard, and they're coming to hang out in Florida, So I know, like, for me, it's just like, it's like extra to even go back there right now.
Yeah, it's dangerous, to be honest. You're far better off to be stuck here. The challenge is finding the places and for how long, and so that's the same with us. Like, after here, who will let us in? Because a lot of people have fear of renting their places out as well. And so when we were looking, a lot of people are like, no, due to the coronavirus, we're not taking anybody. We had a lot of responses like that as well. So people, rightfully so, they're looking at us as travelers and saying, well, you might be infected and then you're going to come into my house. So no, so there's
100%, yeah. I mean, and like, their, like, concerns are valid,
yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah. But very hard to travel, right? It makes it really challenging.
For sure.
So
I do feel very fortunate that I do have this place to stay, and, like, I'd be so much more stressed if not. And, like, my parents, like, my dad has decided to stay in Chiang Rai, so that was, like, a weight lifted. Now I don't have to be concerned about him, like, not, like, traveling and then, like, having to, like, kind of, I mean, he has people to take care of him, back home in Florida, but, like, they have jobs, they have kids, they have families as well, so, like, if I just couldn't be there, like, I was just so stressed, just, like, thinking my dad was just gonna go home and, like, pretty much, like, almost be on his own.
Do they have ties over in Chiang Rai? Like, do they have like things going on or a home there and such?
Yes, they do. So my mom is, she's Thai and I'm half Thai. And so, like, they own, like, a small home in Chiang Rai, and, like, Chiang Rai, like, well, I know you travel a lot, but, like, really, like, travelers don't make it up to Chiang Rai that often. If they do, it's only to see the White Temple,
Yeah.
Like, outside of that, it's pretty remote, So, like, I just felt much safer, much more peace of mind knowing that he's in Chiang Rai rather than risking traveling, because, like, there's a risk in that, and then going home to Florida where, like I have 4 friends that have tested positive for coronavirus in Florida, and, like, I know my little brother was trying to get tested just because he was, like, traveling and everything, and they don't have the testing capabilities, like, they definitely now is better than last week and they have more of it, but they're not testing you unless you're symptomatic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So in certain countries are not testing also unless you're a certain age, or if you have predisposition, different things like that, they're just not testing. So you could be carrying without even really officially knowing, infecting many others. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, like, Florida is just probably such a tough spot to be in right now. I think the US in general, unless more drastic measures are taken, maybe, like, a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah. So for you, do you have like, in your mind, a hopeful estimate as to when you're going to be able to keep moving, or?
I guess, like, the end of April, or, like, May, or what is it? It's about to be April. I guess, like, May 1st, because New Zealand's going to be locked down for a month. Mm-hmm. So that would be, like, the last day in April, first day in May. So I was looking at maybe that. But then, like, I also face the issue of going back to Florida. And, like I said, like, Florida is probably not, like, in terms of coronavirus, Florida is not the ideal spot to go. It's probably one of the worst spots to go in the United States. You know what I mean?
And you've been traveling, so you travel on your own, right? Or do you travel? Yeah. So this is nothing new for you in a sense, like, So you can continue on if you want and just, you know, stay here or wherever for that matter.
Yeah, I do think like I was like, you know, because I have been traveling for so long and I've been doing it on my own, I guess, you know, I'm used to being in different environments and I can make myself pretty comfortable. Like I can make home out of almost anywhere these days. But, you know, like I would just like think of like people that, you know, maybe this was like their first trip and then they got stuck here in New Zealand. And then there's always like the money issue, you know, and then a safe place to stay. You know, like I said, I got so lucky with where I'm staying, but I would be so much more stressed if I was having to pay for like a hotel room and everything. You know, really, I only just have to pay for like food and whatnot, you know, but like to also pay for food and to pay for a hotel room and then just like, you know, like all that would make it just, oh my God, I would be so much more stressed. Yeah, I would have done everything I could to get back to, you know, like the States where I have like a free house and everything, or even Thailand, because it's just like so much cheaper. It's so expensive here in New Zealand. You know, I did a van trip and my friend already had the van in just 2 weeks. Like I just saw, you know, how expensive like food, fuel, you know, all that, like it adds up really quick. And then, I mean, campsites are expensive. So I can't even imagine what a hotel room or an Airbnb would cost, you know, like campsites are like 30, 40 bucks a night. So like a hotel room is, you know, like when I start adding all that up for a month, like that's so stressful.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so many people that were stranded were in that boat where they couldn't even go on, or they might not have found the places. There was a couple and they were camping and just doing the trails and staying with those little huts and such. And they came out and they didn't even realize there's this whole, you know, lockdown happening. And it was just like such a big shock and they had nowhere to go. And then the hotel they booked for 2 nights canceled because they said, now we're closing our doors. And they were literally stuck with a phone to like figure out flights, like not even a computer. So like, it would have been so challenging.
Just hearing you talk about that, because like that's like such a real situation for so many people right now. You know what I mean? Like I know Jesse, like our mutual friend Jesse, like his whole family got stuck in Peru and they reached out to the embassy and the embassy, you know, wasn't doing anything for them. And the embassy also, like, you know, I'm not super stressed about it, but like I also did reach out to the embassy, and the email that I got after the initial one was that the U.S. embassy is not doing anything for Americans stuck in New Zealand right now. You know, like they have no plans at the moment.
That's right.
But, you know, like it said, the situation is evolving quickly. Like we're getting all the necessary information to like continue. But as of right now, like the U.S. government has no plans on bringing Americans home from New Zealand or this part of the world, as far as I know, you know?
Yeah. No, they can't really do much either because like you said, all their hands are tied with the flights and the connecting and, you know, everything like that. So yeah, we're in the same boat. So, so this is our new home. This is our new normal and our new home for the next little while. And we do not know how long it's going to be.
For at least next month, you know, at least.
Yeah, at least. So our goal is to get up to the North Island. We have some great friends up there, some Kiwi friends. So we're going to get our way up there. So maybe we will crisscross on our way back through Christchurch when we go back up.
Oh my God, that'd be so awesome. I would love to meet you and your family and stuff.
Yeah. We'll meet up and hopefully the coffee shops will be open or something by then.
Yeah. I mean, I think if New Zealand, it seems like things are like so steady and everyone's following the laws. Like nothing is like, everyone is abiding by it, you know? And the thing that's like, that's not happening in the US. Like a lot of people are, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are, but then for as many people that are, there's just as many that aren't. You know what I mean? As like New Zealand collectively as a society is like, all right, yeah, we're going to do this for a month. We're going to get this over with. And then we can get on with our lives sooner. So I do think like in a month, New Zealand should be like on its way to being like up and running, you know?
Well, we sure all hope so, right? I mean, that's the plan.
Yeah. So like going to the North Island.
Listen, we have like most, I wouldn't say most, but quite a few of our followers are from the US. So if you had a message that you wanted to like share with them, to all those watching, what would you share? What message would you give them?
Yo, stay home. That's literally the only message right now. You know what I mean? Like no house parties, no boat parties, like just stay home, wash your hands. Like nothing that hasn't already been said a million trillion times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Staying home, because I think like it's the only way. Even if you're not showing symptoms, you could still be a carrier. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Staying
Exactly.
home and doing your part. You know, if just everyone does their part, then this would just be over so much quicker, and we can all get on with our lives. You
Yeah.
know?
Good
So,
message. I agree. Well,
yeah.
thanks so much for connecting with me today.
Yeah, it was so nice to, like talk to you in person after watching so many of your videos online.
Cool. I'm so glad too.